Hello guys, today I'll be talking about my journey with 3 Days Grace so far. I've done a similar video for Linkin Park, so if you haven't seen that video, definitely check it out after this one. But yeah, I believe I did that video like a year or two ago, but 3 Days Grace was one of the first bands that I ever got into at a young age. And of course, there's many other bands like Linkin Park, Korn, and Slipknot, and a few other bands, but yeah, definitely a band that I do have plenty of nostalgia for. I still enjoy the music today, and I do even like the stuff with Matt too so far. But basically, with this video, I'm going to talk about how I got into them and basically the thoughts and feelings that I was having with each album coming out and so on and many other things. But anyways, go ahead and dive into this. So it all started in fourth grade. I believe this was the year 2009. And I basically got into them like a few months after Life Starts Now came out, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I was in fourth grade. I was in class. One of my friends had the self-titled CD, and they let me look at the liner notes. And I remember being intrigued by what I was seeing. So I remember when I got home from school, going to my room and checking out the album and just being hooked ever since. I remember being really into certain songs like Burn and I Hate Everything About You, Home, Drown, and a few other songs, of course. But yeah, I really dug this album when I heard it for the first time. I do also have the sampler CD that, of course, I got years later, but it has snippets of songs from the album, and yeah, definitely pretty cool to own. If you see it for a decent price, definitely get it. If you're a 3 Days Grace fan, or if you're a collector for the band too, but anyways, I remember after checking out this album, I checked out this album here, 1X. And this is maybe one of my favorite albums of all time. I wouldn't go as far as top 10 and maybe even top 20. That might be pushing it, but I know it'd at least be within, I don't know, top 50, top 40, potentially. But this album all around is just enjoyable and definitely, in my opinion, their best album. I remember when during my first few listens of the album, when I was getting into the band, I remember really being into certain songs like "It's All Over," "Pain," "Animal I've Become," "Time of Dying," and "Riot," and of course many other songs. But this album all around is just excellent and easily one of their best, and I'm sure many fans would agree with that. But yeah, I basically listened to the albums in order when I was getting into them. So of course I checked out Life Starts Now next, and at the time, they only had 3 albums when I got into them. And I remember at the time, this one was my least favorite of the 3 albums so far at that time, but I still did enjoy the album. I would say that at the time, I think I was more impressed by the first half than the second half. I found myself returning to the first 6 or 8 songs, but didn't really care much for the rest of the songs after that. I thought they were just okay, but as time has gone on, many songs in the second half have really grown on me, and I do think that this album is also one of their best nowadays. And some of my favorites on the album are probably the first 6 songs and Someone Who Cares. Those are probably my favorites on the album. I know many fans like Last to Know. That's another song that I do really like, but it's not one of my personal favorites. I know Without You is another song that's really grown on me, and same with the title track. But yeah, this album all around is really good. But we skipped to like 2011, 2012. We, of course, get the first single from Transit to Venus, that single being Chalk Outline. I remember when I heard it, I, of course, noticed the electronic influence or sound in the song, and even at the time, I was still not really into electronic music, but I did like the electronic influence in that song, and I remember being really into that single. And then the album finally came out, and that album, of course, being Transit of Venus. And at the time, I remember kind of like with Life Starts Now, I remember really liking the second half, but not really caring much for or I remember really liking the first half, but not really liking the second half, or not caring much for it in general, except for a few songs like Expectations and maybe Give Me a Reason. But as time has gone on, kind of like with Life Starts Now, many songs in the second half have really grown on me. Especially songs like Broken Glass and maybe Happiness, if I remember correctly. But this album, I'd say certain songs that definitely get better over time, at least for me. And there are some songs on the album that I still enjoy too, of course, like Chalk Outline and Anonymous, Misery Loves Company, and I do like their Michael Jackson cover, Give In To Me. For the longest time, I didn't know it was a Michael Jackson cover until a few years later or so, but... And I have heard the original, of course, and the original is great. Of course, if you haven't heard the original, definitely check it out, but... Yeah, overall, a pretty solid album. But then we move on to about like 2013, 2014, and then, of course, Adam Gontier leaves the band. And I remember at the time, I was a little bit disappointed. I was a little bit upset because at the time, of course, I really liked his voice, and I still really like his voice too. And if you're one of those people or one of those fans that really misses Adam, definitely check out Saint Estonia. Their two albums are definitely worth checking out, especially the second one. That's probably the one that I like better of the two. But both albums are, of course, great. But anyways, back to when he left. Again, I felt a little bit upset. I wasn't sure what the band was going to do next or if they were going to continue to make more music. And then we heard that Painkiller single, and I remember really liking it. At the time, there was still that side of me that really missed Adam and wish he would come back, but at the same time, I really liked Matt's vocals on that song. I remember being impressed with that song overall. But then we move on a few months later or so, we move into 2015, and this album comes out, Human. And I remember when the singles were coming out and people were just really criticizing the lyrics and criticizing Matt. Some people were either on board with Matt or really supporting him, replacing Adam, and there are also some people that just were not having it, were really not into the lyrics, were really not into his voice, and many other things. But the biggest criticism I see with the Matt album so far is mainly the lyrics. And yeah, I definitely agree that they're the weakest part of these albums, but yeah, when Human came out, I do remember really liking it, actually. Now, not every song was awesome or really stick the landing, but I'd say my least favorite on the album is probably One Too Many. The song in general just doesn't offer a whole lot much new to the album or for 3 Days Grace in general. I think it's probably one of their weakest songs in general, to be honest. Now, it's not unlistenable or anything. I wouldn't go that far, but I do think it's one of the weakest songs in their discography by far. But I do remember, again, really liking the album when it came out. I even liked Human Race. I remember people really giving that song flack for the repetition in the lyrics. But I actually really liked the song overall, even with due to how repetitive it was. And, of course, you had Painkiller, which is another song that I still really liked. I remember many fans really liking Fallen Angel. That's one of the fan favorites on the album, and understandably so. Definitely one of the highlights on the album for sure. I think I Am Machine was the second single. I remember liking it, but not loving it when it came out. But I do still like it overall. But I wouldn't say that's my favorite of the singles. But I do remember also really liking So What and Nothing's Fair in Love and War. Maybe one of their most underrated songs. I really like that song. I do kind of like the dark atmosphere of the verses, and then you have the simple but memorable, catchy chorus. But the end is not the answer. I remember also liking, and then of course, have the album close with The Real You, which is more piano focused, and I do remember liking that one. But yeah, I was part of the group of fans that actually enjoyed the album, but still didn't think it was one of their best or anything. But I wouldn't say that it's their worst. Honestly, I'm not sure what their weakest album is. It would be either this one or the next album. But anyways, that's Human for you. But we go ahead and move on to like 2007, no, not 2007, 2017, 2018, somewhere in there, and we get that single, The Mountain. I remember liking it, but feeling a bit underwhelmed because to me at the time the single felt like more of the same. But as I've given it more listens, it kind of grew on me a little bit, but not a whole lot, to be honest. But then the album eventually comes out, and my favorite song at the time was Infrared, and it's still my favorite song on the album. But I remember when the album came out, I did notice them experiment a bit more, but overall, I wouldn't say that I was very satisfied with the album overall when it came out. I remember liking certain songs a lot, like Right, Left, Wrong, and Infrared. I remember also really liking The Real and Villain I'm Not. And the scream towards the end of The Abyss I also really like. From Matt, definitely unexpected, but I thought he did a really strong scream towards the end of that track. But you did also have I Am an Outsider. Now, I remember that song getting a lot of flack from some fans, basically due to some of the lyrics and just how simple and straightforward that song was. I remember Me Against You getting some negative reception for sure because of the lyrics, and understandably so. I am actually one of the few fans that actually doesn't mind that song. I'm sure many fans would probably consider it one of their worst songs, but I don't think it's that bad. But it's by no means a great or awesome song or anything. But you do have the experimental Love Me or Leave Me, and I remember that song just being okay. But as time has gone on, the album just hasn't really had the strongest replay value or the strongest staying power, however you want to put it. But back now in 2021, we know that the band is working on a new album. Of course, when you look at the release dates of these albums, they release an album every 3 years, so we should expect a new album this year, hopefully, probably towards maybe the summer, well, I don't know about the summer, probably not, but definitely in the second half of this year for sure. And I am somewhat interested in seeing what they'll do next, because Human saw them kind of returning to their roots or trying to return to their roots, and then you had this album where they were trying to experiment a bit more. So I am somewhat curious of what they're going to do with this next album. But anyways, that's my journey with 3 Days Grace. Of course, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. But anyways, let me know your thoughts on my journey with this band. Let me know if you have any special memories with this band or anything like that. For me, I definitely have many great memories, such as listening to certain albums like 1X during long car rides and stuff like that. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and a like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.